So in this video, I want to share with you exactly how to sell life insurance final expense over the phone step by step. And I'm gonna give you guys like the beginner's guide of a script, how to go through the sales process, how to ask questions, what questions to ask, how to do the medical section, how to do the close, how to close. I wanna walk you through basically like give you guys the outline and template. Some people have been asking about my script that's gonna outline how to sell final expense life insurance. And the goal is that if you're a new agent who is looking to sell life insurance on the phone, this is gonna help you tremendously. Or if you're a seasoned agent who wants to have a better script, learn how to ask better questions, and really just steal my script in a sense, this is gonna give this to you guys as well. Okay, if you don't know who I am, my name is Peter Roberts. I've done this just like you guys are probably trying to do. My first year as a life insurance agent, I've sold over $500,000 of final expense life insurance. That is where I perfected my script. And then ultimately, and now an agency owner, last month, our company did over $460,000 of final expense premiums. And I'm a co-owner of Legacy Family Life, where we help life insurance agents make six figures without chargeback, without lead costs, without figuring out how to, market. We give you guys all the tools and resources to make six figures, and my goal here is to help you make more money as an agent. Okay, so let's go through the beginner guide of how to sell life insurance. Before we start there, we have to understand what are we even selling, okay? This is important, especially if it's final expense. This is what we specialize in. If it's final expense, you are selling peace of mind. You are selling, Miss Betty, if you die, here's what's gonna happen to your family. Your family's have to go through all this pain, all this turmoil, and all this suffering. So if you get this policy, all that pain and suffering will go away because you have a policy that's gonna cover your burial expenses, okay? So step one of the script is the intro, okay? Let's dive directly into this, okay? The intro is, hey, Miss Betty, this is just Peter. I'm just getting back to you in regards to the request that you sent in a few days ago. You listed blank, okay? You always want to go with some type of confirmation. If your leads don't have a beneficiary name, if your leads don't tell you their birthday, you need to have some type of information where you can catch them up to speed on why are you even calling in the first place, okay? The intro is really important. Your first 30 seconds when it comes to selling life insurance is a huge problem that I see a lot of agents struggle with. If you are getting 3 contacts, you want to turn those 3 contacts into presentations, okay? So if you're getting a lot of people picking up, but you don't know how to move them through the intro, you have an intro problem, okay? Common objections that come up in the intro are like, I'm busy right now, I need to talk to my spouse, or can you call me later, okay? And if you get these objections, the rule of thumb, basically, if I was teaching a 3rd grader how to sell life insurance, is acknowledge the objection and then ask the next question. Okay, so intro objection handling. It's okay, I'm so sorry, I understand you're busy right now. Let me ask you this. It shows here that you are 51 years old. Is that right? And then ask another question, okay? That is how you get through the intro objections over and over. Acknowledge and push through. Acknowledge and push through and ask a question, okay? So when you go through your intro, important to always ask a question, bring their guard down, be friendly. If they get objections, acknowledge and push through. And the goal of the intro is to get into the next section of the script, okay? So now that they understand why you're calling, you built some trust, now it's time to build them a little bit more trust. You're gonna explain kind of how the process works, okay? So Miss Betty, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look around at all these different companies. I'm going to be your advisor here today. I'm gonna put your information into a fancy dancy system, and then I'm gonna go ahead and find you the best product based off your age and your health, okay? So the intro is the first section. The next section is really explaining how this process works. You can even say there's no medical questions, there's no medical exams, there's no needles, blood, or urine. I'm gonna be able to help you find the best rate, okay? Then what we love to do is we want to go into building some type of credibility, okay? So they need to understand, who you are, kind of why you're calling in a sense, and you want to give them their information. So I love to say, well, before I jump into this, I want to give you my information. My name is Peter Roberts. I live here in Arizona, and then I'd give them like an NPN number, and I'd also give them my license. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll send like a screenshot of my like North Carolina license or my Florida license, and then send that into a text so they can see that you're not a stranger, because you were a stranger at one point. You're just a random guy who's calling over the phone. These seniors have been scammed, so let's give them some peace of mind, know that you are real, maybe a picture of your family, give them some peace of mind. Okay, so to break down, we have the intro, we have really just explaining the process, and then we're gonna go into some credibility, and then we're gonna go into the underwriting section, okay? This is important. When you're an underwriter, this isn't, if you don't know how to ask medical questions, if you don't know what lisinopril, carvedilol, hydrochlorothiazide are, and you're struggling in the medical section, you're not going to be a professional and people are going to hang up on you. The goal of in the medical section is to be very professional and quick. Okay, the frame of the medical section is to be the doctor. Okay, if I went into my doctor's office and I said I have a knee problem, and they're like, "What part of your knee? What can you help me understand? What is your knee?" You'd be like, "Dude, I'm in the wrong doctor's office." And this is the same sense when you're selling life insurance on the phone. If they say, "Oh, I have MS," or they have COPD and they're taking albuterols, and you don't know the medications or what they're taking, then you are going to sound dumb and they're going to hang up on you. So little side tip is study medical conditions. Have a cheat sheet. Understand what medications are for what. Blood pressure. What medications are for COPD. What medications are for kidney disease. What medications are for diabetes. Understand the complications of diabetes. So in your script, guys, if you're not a medical professional, people will hang up on you, okay? So the medical section typically looks like this. Are you a smoker? Heart attacks, strokes, cancers, diabetes, any COPD, what's your height and weight? And then you need to then dive deeper into those questions like, okay, and what other medications are you taking? What hospitalizations? So after you gather that information, you then typically are going to use like a software or toolkits. You can use, any toolkits. Go up online and look up toolkits. So any type of software, you need to have either a chat with your team that can underwrite for you, or you can use like insurance toolkits platforms that are out there that'll help you underwrite, especially if you're independent, okay? If you're independent and you're shopping the market, let's say you have companies like, Mutual of Omaha, if you're looking at companies like Transamerica, or you're looking at companies like, Prosperity or Aetna or Great Western, like you need to figure out like what medications this client is on, because if you understand what medications they're on, you're going to understand what companies they can go with, okay? It's important. If you don't know the medications and you don't know how to underwrite them, you don't know what company to put them with. Okay, meaning that you're going to get a decline. So in the medical section, you have to understand if this person has COPD, well, this company will take them day one coverage. If this person had a heart attack 3 years ago, well, they can still go to this company. Okay, this is where that being a doctor is important, and it's a very important skill set as a life insurance agent. Okay, you never want to put someone in a policy that is fraudulent, meaning that they have COPD, but you get them approved at a certain company even though they have COPD. So you need to know your guidelines of the companies that you're selling. If you do not know the underwriting guidelines of the carriers that you are selling, stop right now and don't continue to sell, because you are going to screw people over by putting their family in bad positions. Let's be really clear there, okay? So you need to become a medical expert, okay? After that, the goal here is to understand what company am I going to put with them with. So if Miss Betty is really healthy, I know I'm going to put them with this plan. It's the most affordable, and there's no 2-year waiting period, okay? You do not want to sell, hopefully they're healthy enough, policies that have waiting periods if you don't have to, okay? So make sure you structure your products with carriers that will approve a lot of unhealthy people and healthy people, so that you can get them always day one coverage, okay? So in the medical section, we're going to spend 3 to 5 minutes here, and then you're going to push forward into really the discovery section. Okay, the discovery section is where you're going to really make your money. This is where you're going to understand, what is their problem, why do they have this problem, and why have they done this before. So let me just jump into the 3 questions that I love to ask in the discovery. So question 1 that we have to understand is, what are you looking for? Why did you fill out a form for life insurance? What is the goal? Okay, Miss Betty needs to tell me, Peter, I want to cover my funeral expenses so when I die, my family is not taken care of. If you are not getting a clear goal, like you don't know, I'm just looking around, you need to figure out what are you looking around for. Sidebar, if you go into Marshall's looking for a pair of shoes, and you go in there and you're looking for shoes, but someone else is trying to sell you hats, you're not going to buy. So you need to understand what their clear why is. They are here because they want to cover their funeral expenses. Now after you get the clear why, you then are going to go into the pain. The pain is why they buy. Now the way that you get the pain is you ask them, Miss Betty, if you die, who is stuck with your $20,000 funeral bill? Who is it? My son. Now the son is the target. We love to say this is the person that they're going to buy life insurance, because if you die, your son is going to be in a really bad position. So then I have to have Miss Betty explain, well, does your son have the money to pay for your burial expenses? No, he doesn't. Well, help me understand, Miss Betty, if you died tomorrow, how is he going to pay for your $20,000 funeral? Oh, it's going to be really hard. Okay, then I need to dive deeper. We need to start painting the picture. So the pain is, what is your son gonna do? What does that look like for your son? And then we have to paint the clear picture. Walk me through exactly what your son is going to do. Is he gonna have to raise money? Like when you die, he's sitting with the funeral director. How is he gonna come with the money? And then she's going to paint how bad the picture is. You have to bring death to the doorstep today. You have to help them think that they're gonna die tomorrow, and here's what their son's gonna have to go through. And if you let them like kind of delay it, oh, they're not really talking about it, you are not going to get them to have this sense of pain and urgency, okay? So let's stop there. We get the clear why, we get the clear pain, they paint the clear picture of how bad their family is going to struggle. Then we have to ask the third question. Why haven't you moved forward, Miss Betty? What has prevented you from moving forward in the past, okay? So we need to understand, she just told me exactly why we haven't bought life insurance, right? She just told me why we need the life insurance, how our family's gonna struggle, how it's gonna be such a hard life for her son. He doesn't have the $15,000. So I'm gonna ask her, Miss Betty, this sounds important to you. Why haven't you bought this insurance to solve this problem? Is basically what I'm asking. Oh, well, it's been too expensive. Now you're gonna figure out what the objections are, okay? It's been too expensive. Well, what have they been telling you? Well, everyone's trying to put me in a 2-year waiting period. Wow, 2-year waiting period? Oh my gosh, well, why haven't you bought it? Well, I'm on a fixed income, I can't afford it. So you gotta figure out why they haven't moved forward. You gotta figure out what this variable is, because if you can solve for this variable, they'll probably do it. So if Miss Betty tells me, oh, everyone's putting me with a 2-year waiting period, and I have good products, and I know how to underwrite, and I say, Miss Betty, so as long as we can find you a policy that doesn't have a 2-year waiting period, would there be anything holding you back? She's gonna say no. Awesome. Then you can understand why they haven't bought. And if you can solve that, I promise you they will buy, okay? Then we're gonna progress a little bit deeper in the script, and we're gonna talk about some of feelings questions. I always like to ask this feeling, especially if this is a female, saying, Miss Betty, how would this make you feel knowing as a mother or knowing as a father that you would put the solution in place so your son is not burdened? How would that make you feel? Now, this is going to be a very emotional question, so if they're not very emotionally receptive, don't ask this question, but typically females will be like, oh my gosh, it's going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel great. And now they're going to basically admit that they need this life insurance because they want to feel better. Okay, you guys tracking with me so far? Cool. And then we're going to press deeper in the script. Okay, then we're going to summarize everything back to them. Miss Betty, it sounds like as a mother that you understand that no matter what happens, you want to make sure if something happens to you tomorrow, that your son, Jim Tom, is not knocking on doors, raising money, going into his savings account to pay for your funeral and final expenses. Is that about right? You want to make sure that no matter what, you have a policy in place because you want to feel good knowing that he's always taken care of. Is that about right? Now we've summarized, we're on the same page, and now we can move forward into kind of progressing into the sales process, okay? Then we're gonna go a little bit deeper here. Now we're gonna ask her what's called the killing the zombies question. I talk about this in a lot of my videos, this is important. Miss Betty, if I could find you something that's comfortable and affordable, would there be anything holding you back from seeing if we can get you approved here today? So basically what we're doing is trying to figure out, is there any objections that are coming up, that will come up in the close that I wanna handle here? If I don't get those here, then I don't want to expect them in the close. We want to kill the objections in the discovery rather than in the close, okay? So she might say, well, I need to speak to my husband, or I can't pay for it today. Whatever her zombie is, we have to smash that zombie. We have to kill that zombie. And the way that you can do that is basically objection handle. Well, okay, I understand. So you can't pay for anything today. So as long as we could find you something that you could push out for like the 3rd or the 1st when you get paid. Is that when you get paid? Yeah, that's when I get paid. You can start this policy, but it has to be on the 3rd of the month. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, so now we're in the killing zombies. We're gonna stop, figure out what objections are here. Let's make sure we can tackle those or kill those zombies, squash those zombies before we move forward. If those zombies are not squashed, then we should not move forward because Miss Betty is going to hit us with what? That objection in the close, and she's not going to buy, okay? Now, for certain carriers, I like to explain, do you have a bank account? Because we don't want to sell people with Direct Express. They don't have like a checking account or a savings account, so we're typically going to ask, do you have a checkings or savings account? You've probably seen that in my live calls. Do you have a checkings or savings account? Oh yes, so it's basically for the carriers that you sell. You always want to sell business with routing and account numbers. It's most secure. You get paid more money on it, and ultimately too, card business is not good. So you always want to ask, do they have a routing and account number, so that they're willing to know, number one, hey, I'm gonna have to actually probably pay for something today. And most importantly, it's also for your carrier knowledge as well. Then I love to ask a question right after that is the little something. This is allowing you to get the feel for the downsell. Okay, the downsell is, hey Miss Betty, if I could find you something that's comfortable and affordable for you, would there be anything holding you back from getting you approved here today? I'm sorry, forgive me, Miss Betty, if I could help you find something that's comfortable and affordable, would you say having a little something is better than having nothing at all? That's the question I like to ask. Would you say having a little something is better than having nothing at all? When she says yes, I'll ask why. Yeah, okay, gotcha. And why do you think having a little bit is better than having nothing at all? Well, obviously having a little something is better than having nothing. Okay, so then I'm getting ammunition. Okay, I'm always trying to get her to make these commitments to me so that if she gives me objections, I can use what she just said against me. So when she says, oh, I can't do that, you can then create the downsell. Well, Miss Betty, you remember how you told me a little bit's better than nothing? Remember how you told me that earlier? Yes, I did. Well, what we can do is we can start with the $5,000 option instead of the $10,000 because a little bit's better than nothing, and you can always increase it. Does that sound fair? So you're getting these little commitments along the way where you can basically use that against them to make a small decision as well, because price is typically a huge objection. So if I get them to say, yes, a little bit is better than nothing, I know that I can sell them just a little bit because a little bit is better than nothing, okay? And I get that commitment, and then I move forward. Then we're gonna go into structuring the close. Okay, let's talk about how we close them. The first thing I gotta do is I gotta explain what we're looking at. We're looking at whole life insurance, something where the monthly payment will never go down, it'll never go up, and it will always be there for the rest of your life so that you can go to bed at night, Miss Betty, knowing that your daughter is completely taken care of. Is that kind of what you're looking for? So basically, you're just helping them admit that this is what they need. They're looking for final expense insurance. They're not looking for IULs. They're not looking for an annuity. They're not looking for term life insurance. They're not looking for anything else other than whole life insurance. So then you want them to say, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And it's just typically, if you have good marketing, they know exactly what they're getting for, so they're typically gonna get like a yes. But this gives them some peace of mind. Then we're gonna go into the close, okay? Now we're gonna start preparing our options. When you pitch these options have to be great. I'm gonna pause here and teach you a lesson when you sell. When you sell life insurance, you need to make sure you sell it strong and it's like the best product. People can hear your conviction. People can hear if you believe in the product. People can believe if you're gonna be a great agent because of how you emphasize certain things and how you lean in and communicate with them, okay? For example, pause. Yeah, you guys should eat at the Pizza Hut up the street. They got pretty good pizza. It's there's not much of a line. Me and my wife really liked it, but it's pretty good pizza. It's a good pizza place. Restaurant number 1. Restaurant number 2. You guys have to eat at this Pizza Hut. It has the most phenomenal pizza. The delivery was quick. The waiter was so sweet. Their drinks were phenomenal. Like, next time you guys get like a weekend off, like you and your wife, and you don't have the kids, take her to this pizza place. Fire. Okay, which one am I gonna buy? Am I gonna go to the first option or am I gonna go to the second option? And this is how we need to pitch. We need to communicate with strength, and we need to create emphasis in our ability to deliver these products. So let's talk about how we go through that work. So Miss Betty, what we're gonna be looking at is whole life insurance. Is this what you're looking for? She says yes. Now it shows here that you're eligible for the best option for you here based off your age and your health, and it's with the company called Mutual of Omaha. Have you heard of those guys before? They're gonna say, oh yeah, I probably heard them, or no, they haven't. Okay, if they say they haven't, well, you probably have. There's a lot of commercial on TV. Okay, now Mutual of Omaha, you want to give their credibility. You want to make sure that they know who you're going with. This is who they're gonna get their life insurance for. We gotta let them know they've been in business since 1901, A-rated, have great reviews on the Better Business Bureau, don't miss payout claims, and they're really reliable. Okay, so you want to sell them. Then you're gonna go into really explaining the options here for you. Now, why this is the best product for you is because, with your age and your health, no matter where you go, it's gonna be the most affordable policy for you. It's gonna be create the value. It's gonna be a policy that's not gonna put you in a waiting period. It's gonna be a policy that's gonna be there for you forever. And every other company is gonna try to give you a more expensive rate. So I know that this is gonna be the best plan for you no matter what. Okay, so then you're gonna talk about why it's the best and just really explain the value. You're gonna start stacking the values, like what I like to call it, okay? Then you're gonna go into either a 2-option or a 3-option close, okay? So now you have your quotes up because you use the software, you know exactly what that is. Typically, I like to quote like a good $50 option, a good $80 option, and like a $120 option or above, like a max option. Or you can do a 50 or an 80, whatever you do. So what we're gonna look at is 3 options here. The first option is the $10,000 option. This is like the beginner option. This is for people who are on fixed incomes, who wanna make sure they have a little something in place. Okay, pause. Then you're gonna explain how this $10,000 option is going to solve all of their problems. Remember how earlier in the discovery, they talked about how their son's gonna have to knock on doors, their son's gonna have to start a fish fry. Remember how you talked about it earlier? You need to tie this 10,000 on how it's gonna solve the problem so that their son or daughter doesn't have to go through all the mess that they talked about earlier. Okay, this is called selling to the pain points, selling to solve problems, okay? Example 1. So this is gonna be the 10,000, it's gonna make sure that your son, Jim Tom, he's not knocking on doors like you told me earlier. It's gonna make sure that he's not having to, on his worst day of his life, you know, be in a position to ask his friends or family for money, not having to go alone. And this 10,000 is gonna make sure that when you go to bed at night, that, you know, all of your funeral expenses will be completely paid for. So he's not stuck with this huge financial burden. He's not stuck, you know, having to knock on doors. He's not stuck having to, you know, grieve you and ultimately pay for all of your funeral expenses. And ultimately, if we can get you qualified here, this 10,000 would be $51 per month. Okay, so you see how I tie all the previous pain, all the problems back into the options and explain. Lastly, what's the price? Then I'm gonna go into the next option, and this is the second option. The second option is the 20,000, and I'm gonna do the same thing. This 20,000 is gonna solve this problem, so on and so forth. For every option, your 1 option or 1 to 3 option close is you have to explain how it's going to solve the problem, how it's gonna give them peace of mind, how it's gonna, you know, make them sleep better at night, because they are buying, like I said 20 minutes ago, they are buying peace of mind. Then you gotta go into the sales, you know, the close. Now you have to pitch this strong. So as a mother, you wanna label them as a mother, as a father, as a grandmother, as an uncle, thinking about how important your son is, and kind of tie it back to the discovery here. Thinking about your son and how much you love him. You know, what do you think would give you the peace of mind? Do you think like the 10,000 or the 15,000 would help sleep better at night? Then they're gonna pick their option. When they pick the option, you're then gonna transition to the application, but you're verifying that it's comfortable for them. And can you promise me, Miss Betty, this is gonna increase your placement, that 20,000 for the, you know, $57.23, is that comfortable and affordable for you? They're gonna say yes. Okay, gotcha. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna complete an application, we'll set up your payment date. What day do you want this payment to come out of your account? And then you're letting them know, hey, we're gonna actually pay for the policy today. There are no secrets. We're gonna complete this application. You're gonna put a payment method, and then you're gonna go into the application. If you get people that you are going into applications and they're not willing to give you their bank account information, it's because you didn't tell them here. So you again need to preface what is the application process, that they're making a payment. Do not run from this or you will get banking and social objections, okay? So you can kill those by asking depth of how the process works here. And then you're gonna lay out the process, you're gonna submit the application, putting their beneficiary on there, putting on their phone number, putting on their social security. They're gonna do the medical check. And then what you're going to do is you're gonna click submit. And then when you click submit, you're gonna get approved, and you can say, congratulations, Miss Betty, you have been fully approved for your life insurance policy. And that is step by step, a great breakdown and walkthrough of my final expense life insurance script. Cheers.